الحمد لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Praise be to Allah. We seek His help and His forgiveness, and we seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides will never be led astray, and whomsoever Allah leads astray, no one can guide. And I bear witness that there is no illah but Allah, there is no God but Allah, one having no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is his servant and messenger. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, regard Allah as He should be regarded and die not except in a state of complete submission. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. O mankind, be dutiful to your Lord, who created you from a single person, and from him He created his wife, his zawj, his spouse, and from them both He created many men and women. And again, have regard for your Lord, be dutiful to your Lord, through whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the ties of the womb, of kinship, of family. For Allah is ever and all watcher over you. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. O you who believe, keep your duty to Allah and have regard for Him, and speak always the truth. He will direct you to do good deeds and will forgive you your sins. And whomsoever obeys Allah and His messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, he has indeed achieved the greatest achievement. Brothers and sisters, once again I greet you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Oh man, that feels good to hear it back. I want to hear it again. Assalamu alaikum. Oh boy. Alhamdulillah, Allah has made it such that we are now allowing our brothers and sisters to once again join us at Masjidullah in our musalla, socially distanced, with masks on, going through a check, temperature check coming in. But alhamdulillah, it's so good to see you. We've been here throughout this pandemic. Keep the lights on. Making sure that the Jumu'ah was still established. Making sure that we still had our message going out to the world. And making sure that we kept the tradition, kept the obligation that we have, which is to come together on Yawm al-Jumu'ah for the remembrance of Allah, for dhikrullah, to be reminded. And I tell you something, it's beautiful to see the folks that showed up here today. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. It's beautiful. And we thank Allah that He provided a way for us to be here. Because there are many men and women who were called home, called back to Allah during this pandemic. And we don't want to forget them. And there were many that were tried with the illness. And it's not over. But we're thankful that we're at least to a point now where we can come together again in a restricted basis, to be able to see one another, to be able to be in person a bit, to get the remembrance. Alhamdulillah. So once again, it's beautiful to see you. It's beautiful that you're out here. Alhamdulillah. It's been lonely here. You know, for the few folks that have been here, it's been very, very lonely. Alhamdulillah. So, you know, this is, excuse me if I'm a little elated just to see people in here. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah today, we want to keep it brief though, just because of the fact that we want to make sure that we limit the exposure, limit the time that we are together, just so that we don't necessarily put ourselves in harm's way or unnecessarily put ourselves in harm's way. And that we keep the message brief. So inshallah, I'm going to try to keep it very, very brief today. Like unlike the last 2 weeks when I said I'll be brief and went 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so. Inshallah, we'll try to keep it very brief. But we are thankful again that Allah has provided a way for us to be here, to have a remembrance once again, to be here, to take some time to reflect on His message. So with that being said, I would like to continue something I started to discuss maybe 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago I think it was, where we were talking about everything that's going on in the world right now, the pandemic's going on, the civil unrest that is going on, and years of oppression and mistreatment. A lot of those feelings are coming up right now. Not that they haven't always been there or always on our minds or always in our conscious and subconscious, but it's now being put into the mainstream. It's now being put out there in mainstream discussion. It's being put out there for mainstream debate, for mainstream changes. Our politicians and our leaders of different import are here now to try to make some changes, to try to answer the call, answer, what is bothering the people, what is upsetting the people, what is bringing the people to unrest, to civil unrest. People are burning up things and tearing things down, tearing down statues of white supremacy. And we see symbolic gestures and some real movement as well. So I want to take just a little bit of time to address this today, and I want to take a little time again to talk about our role in it as believers, as Muslims, and for us not to get too extreme in it, right? Our deen is a deen of balance. Our way is a way of balance. So we want to address what is concerning the people, but we also do not want to lose sight of our goal. And today we want to focus on staying on our mission, staying on the mission, inshallah ta'ala. So, about 3 weeks ago, I gave a quote from Imam Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him. And he said concerning some of the hardship that we deal with as a people, and this could be applied to any people that are oppressed. And we know that our Prophet, Allah says in the Quran that oppression is worse than slaughter. Oppression is worse than slaughter. And we know that when people are oppressed, people sometimes they look at their oppressor as almighty, as all-powerful, as omnipotent, omnipresent. All of these things are God qualities. And sometimes the oppressed give these qualities to the oppressor sometimes. And this is part of the reason why oppression is worse than slaughter. This is part of the reason. But Allah tells us this. And so Imam Muhammad gave a comment concerning this. And he says, once again, if you can make your opponent, whether it's a chess game or business or race or whatever it is, if you can tie them up with problems that weigh on their emotions, hurt, grievances, you weaken their ability to compete with you. And that's our state as a people. We're emotionally wounded, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. We're emotionally wounded. We're hypersensitive to oppression. We're hypersensitive to disrespect. We're hypersensitive to slavery and wrongdoing because of what our experience here, our experience in this land. We're hypersensitive to it, and we have to admit that and understand that. And what we have to also understand is that this is also a tactic. This is a tool sometimes used to get us off our mission, to get us off what's most important. if I can tie you up with grievances, tie you up, only thing you talk about is what I did to you back in 18 something something, or 1979, or 2010, that's all you do? That's all you talk about? Or 2020? That's all you do? This is not balanced. This is not a balanced way. And we see that this is what's happening, not just amongst the African Americans, but this is also happening amongst the Muslim community in general now. We have Muslims that are, that are becoming activists. This is a good thing when we have balance in it. They're speaking up for the rights of the people, speaking up, doing things about it, changing law, changing legislation. And these are things that we should be involved in, at the forefront of. It's not the only thing we should be doing, but it's one of the things that we should be doing. That we should be a part of that, enjoying what is right and forbid what is wrong. We should be a part of it. But it should not be where our efforts end. It should not take up all of our time. We should have some of us dedicated, with the rest of us supporting it, but not all of our time. Because if that were the thing that were going to deliver us from our condition, if that was the action and belief and understanding that would deliver us from our condition, we would have been delivered by now as a people. Because African Americans and Muslims now, for the last 20 years or so, are at the forefront of the resistance. Whenever a wrong is done, listen, any people are wrong, you guarantee, look at that crowd, there's a black person there, backing it. We there, we show up. And then when the economic calls for our community, for better schools in our community, for better education for our children, for better economic opportunity for the children's parents, our brothers and sisters, it's an empty meeting. We on our own. And what we have to understand is a balanced approach, inshallah, will bring us, inshallah, to where we want to go, inshallah. And Allah tells us this in the Quran. In Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 148, He says, to each is a goal to which Allah turns him, then strive together as in a race towards all that is good. Wheresoever you are, Allah will bring you together. And Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir, for Allah has power over all things. So Allah says that He set up for a race for us to all that is good. All that is good. And so our pursuit, unlike most folks who come here to America, their pursuit a lot of times is just economic pursuit. And America is a place set up for competition. It's a race. America is a place to compete. And this is why most people immigrated here. That's why they come here. They came to play the chess game. They came to come get the resources for their family. Take it back home to where they're from. Send back home to grandmom and grandpa. Or mom and dad. Help them build their infrastructure where they're from. And we have to have the same mentality. We can't be here as a part or a pawn in somebody else's chess game. We have to come here to be players in the game. We have to have our own strategy. We have to have our own way of going about it. But we have to also understand that we want what is good and the totality of good, not just financial or material gain. Because Allah warns us against that as well. And this is a time of great opportunity right now. Because of this pandemic, there's been companies that have been around for years calling for bankruptcy, filing bankruptcy. The tables have been turned in a lot of places. Opportunities abound. They say behind every chaos or every difficulty, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity right now. Wait till a few months go by and these protections around renters are up. Protections around mortgages run out. When commercial space starts turning over, people realize I don't need a 20,000 square foot building to run my operation anymore. Right? There'll be opportunity. And so where are we in this opportunity? Where can the believer come in? You know, right now we're in a time where there's attention to what's going on. There's lots of moral support, financial support, social, economic support that's happening right now. And we're also in a presidential election year. And people are looking to the presidential candidates for a plan for their people. People are actually upset with Donald Trump and Joe Biden because they don't necessarily like the plans that Joe Biden has for the African American community. What people goes to another person, and asks them to provide a plan for them, for their people? That's like a man going to another man and saying, hey, you got a plan for my family? What's your plan, man, for my family? That makes no sense. Or a woman going to another woman, asking them for a plan for their family. No, we should have a plan for our own people. We don't even understand how messed up that is. That you're upset because somebody else doesn't have a plan for you. Why don't you have a plan for you? Where's your plan for you? Right? So we're upset with politicians because we don't like their plan for our people. Listen, we should get with like-minded organizations, with leaders that put together plans for our community. And you go before those who have the resources, that have the influence, and you say, this is my plan for my community. If you want our vote, if you want our financial backing, if you want our support, this is what I need from you. That's a position of power. That's a position of uprightness. A position of strength. Not weak and going before somebody begging for them to give you something that you should be doing for yourself. You don't even want to think for yourself. And we don't understand how backwards that is. Actually having debates on whose plan is better. And you don't understand that other communities, they sit in rooms and have meetings and community meetings and plan their future. And they look at who they believe will get into the position that can help them forward their plan, forward their mission for their people. They don't just go there and complain about what happened back then. Have a plan for how you're going to change it. If you don't have a plan for how you're going to change it, you don't have the right to complain anymore. There are plenty of business strategies that say, if you bring a complaint or bring a problem, you better bring a solution too. We spend a lot of time on the problem. Any black person, any Muslim can tell you what's wrong with America. We can tell you. We can tell you about what they did in housing. We can tell you about what they did in education. We can tell you about what they did in religion. I mean, we got history. We got books on before Columbus, all the Africans that came here prior to Columbus. There's no shortage of people that can tell you the wrong. We need solutionaries, as a lot of folks say. We need solutionaries. And Allah gives us once again the guidance, because sometimes we get so caught up in trying to have material gain that we lose our way. Because all the things I'm talking about, our community once had. We had businesses. We owned businesses. We had our own schools. A nationwide network of our own schools. And here we are in 2020 trying to reestablish something that was already established. Why? Many of you who've been around long enough, you know why. I'm not going to give details and call names, but you know why. Because you have to do it with balance. It can't be just about getting the money. It has to be for a higher cause. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Surah Al-Ma'idah, the table spread. This is verse 48. To thee we sent the scripture in truth. He's talking to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Confirming the scripture that came before it, and guarding it in safety. So judge between them by what Allah hath revealed, and follow not their vain desires, diverging from the truth that hath come to you. To each among you have we prescribed a law and an open way. It says, the minhaj, the clear way. If Allah had so willed, He would have made you a single people. But His plan is to test you in what He hath given you. So strive as in a race, and al-hayrati, the good. The goal of you all is to Allah. It is He who will show you the truth of the matters in which you dispute. He'll show you the truth of the matters in which you dispute. But He told you to do what? Strive forward as in a race towards all that is good, towards the good. That is the command, that is the direction that Allah sends us to. And He says, at the end, He will decide between what we differ in, what our disputes are, what our issues are, what our problems are. But your goal, your direction, is to push forward. We understand the gripes and the issues. And listen, we got lawyers amongst us, we got activists amongst us, we got policymakers amongst us, politicians amongst us, those who specialize in those things. We will support their initiatives. I'm not, listen, again, we are balanced people. I'm not saying we're leaving that off at all. But what I'm saying is it can't consume the totality of our efforts. Because if we do, our leader says what? Imam Muhammad tells us that you can get caught up in that. And you become ineffective, and you become easy for people to outstrip you. You're no competition. And this is part of the freedom. When the immigrant comes here, he's free of that. He come in here, he see opportunity. The immigrant is not coming in, well, America did this to me. He's free of that burden. He's free of it. They see economic opportunity. They see a way to build communities for their people, to establish masajid, to establish business, establish schools, and establish a balanced and good life for their family. And this is the mission that we have to be on, inshallah ta'ala. And when we start to make major strides in that, we have to stay balanced. Because freedom in America is dangerous. Allah tells us we have to be balanced. Because freedom in America is dangerous. America will allow you to do anything that's legal, I guess, right? Allow you to do anything. They give you freedom to do all types of things that Allah says are not good for us. That's why Imam Muhammad said that in America, you must have your own brakes. You must have your own restraint. Because you're free to do whatever. As we see. A lot of the issues that hold our people up, they're consumed with these things. So you must have your own brakes. Allah tells us again, Surah Al-Mu'minun, the believers, this is verses 51 through 61. And this puts a lot of this in perspective. O you messengers, enjoy all things good and pure, and work righteousness, for I am well acquainted with all that you do. And verily, this ummah, this community, is translated as brotherhood, but this is ummah, is community. Of yours is a single ummah, community. And I am your Lord and cherisher, therefore have regard for me, and no other. But people have cut off their affair of unity between them into sects. Each party rejoices in that which is with itself. But leave them in their confused ignorance for a time. Do they think that because we have granted them abundance of wealth and and children, we would hasten them on in every good? No, they do not understand. Verily those who live in awe of fear of their Lord, or regard for their Lord, those who believe in the signs of their Lord, those who join not in worship partners with their Lord, and those who dispense their charity with hearts full of fear, because they will return to their Lord. It is these who hasten in every good work, and these who are foremost in them. So Allah reminds us that He can give you the good of this life. But don't think that you won't be held accountable. And the balance is that He says, verily, those who live in awe of fear of their Lord, regardless of their Lord, those who believe in the signs of their Lord, the ayat, they join not in worship others besides God, and those who dispense of their charity, but their hearts full of fear because they know they have to return. And He says, they hasten in every good work. You see, the motivation is different. The motivation isn't just so I can put on a nice suit, drive a nice car, and floss, and brag, and be boastful, and look down on people. And say, look at me, I'm better than you. This is not the motivation of the believer. The motivation of the believer is to give, is to strive in the good, to build that community, to build that school, because we know that we return to Allah, and He's going to take careful account. This is the motivation. And if we keep the proper motivation, Allah will make us successful in it. He's promised us the success to the believer. He promised it to us. But we have to purify ourselves and understand that our motivation has to be right. We have to strive in a race, compete towards all that is good for the pleasure of Allah, because we know one day we have to return. And so we hasten towards good deeds, and we're foremost in them. That means you're going to be better at doing it. If there's food being given, we want to give the most. Not because we can boast and brag, but because we know this is what Allah wants from us. It's pleasing to our Lord. And it helps out our brothers and sisters. And there's money to be given. We want to give the most. Give more abundantly. If there's good deeds to be done, like cleaning the masjid up tomorrow at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You want to come and clean the best. Right? Or maybe you come and it's just you. Somebody else come, they bring their whole family. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. Oh, we came to clean this masjid today. We're going to clean this masjid today. In a competition towards what is good, inshallah ta'ala. So this is the spirit, inshallah, that we want to have. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Inshallah, just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. There's a Sahih hadith from the tradition of Al-Tirmidhi, and it reads, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu reported, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, well, he ordered us to give charity, and at the time I had some wealth. This is Umar radiyallahu anhu. He's speaking and he's sharing his story. So this is from his perspective. He said, I said to myself, today I will outdo Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu. If ever there were a day to outdo him, he said, today is the day I want to outdo Abu Bakr. Because Abu Bakr was known for his generosity. He was known for giving to the cause. He was known for giving his wealth towards the cause of Allah, the cause of the Prophet ﷺ, and giving to the believers. He was known for it. Out of the generosity. And so Umar says, today I'm going to get him. So He said, if there ever were a day that I'll do him, today's the day, right? So I went with half of my wealth to the Prophet. And he said, what have you left for your family? And I said, the same amount. Meaning that he took half of his wealth and gave it to the cause and left half for his family. So the same amount is what he left for his family. Then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu came with everything he had. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, oh Abu Bakr, what have you left for your family? Abu Bakr said, Allah and his messenger. I said, by Allah, I will never do better than Abu Bakr. I will never outdo Abu Bakr. Now, Allah tells us not to be, not to give to a point where our obligations are not being met, right? So let's put some context around this hadith, right? I don't want you brothers and sisters to go off, you know, sell your house, sell everything, give it to the cause, and then you asking us for charity next week. No, that's not the lesson here. Abu Bakr had, as they say, he had a bag coming every day. So if he gave all his wealth today, he had a bag coming tomorrow. Or money coming in tomorrow. I gotta translate that to the younger folks. I mean to the older folks, right? You know what I mean, buy a bag, right? Right? He had money coming the next day, or wealth coming in the next day. So he can give everything he has. But the point I'm making is that they competed towards the good. A healthy competition. With the right intention. With the right focus. And so this is what we have to do as a people, inshallah ta'ala. We want to make sure that we respond to what's going wrong in the world. That we forbid what is wrong and join what is right, right? That we have people amongst us, at the very least, that focus on some of these issues. And I've spoken on these issues, and I've been present for many meetings and put forward a lot of things, inshallah, that have actually come to pass as far as our local government is involved. And many other brothers and sisters here at Masjidullah, throughout the city, throughout the state, have helped us in doing this. So, I'm not saying to neglect that at all. What I'm saying, once again, we have to be balanced and we can't get off our mission. We have to stay on our mission. What is our mission? Our mission is to establish Al-Islam in America, and you got to start with your own community. And what does that mean? Because some people hear Al-Islam in America and they all Sharia law and they want us to be under their rule. No, that is not it. What it is to be good neighbors. What it is to provide good opportunities for our families, for our community, to build a top-notch school here, to reestablish a lot of things that we had before, businesses, education, continue to do charity the way we do charity. There's some folks who came through our doors throughout, I mean, look, the pandemic is still happening. Things are starting to open up right now, but there's still a lot of people that are in need. And so it's important that we are there to service our community. Alhamdulillah. But we got to stay on the mission and not get caught up in grievances and hurts and pains and stay there. We have to stick to the mission, have solutions to these issues, and continue to incrementally work towards it. Constantly, not lose focus, because this is what everybody else does. They don't get caught up in it. If you get caught up in it, you'll be stuck. And 50 years from now, you'll still be crying about what happened in 1865 or 1800 or whatever it was. Or 2020. What happened in 2020. And in no better position to enforce what is right than you were in 1965. See, if you have no political power, if you have no social economic power, nobody in America has to listen to you. That's just the way it is in America. So, as moral people, as believers, it's our obligation to put ourselves in a position so that we can be a force for justice, a force for good in our communities. Alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, I wanted to make those points today. I hope that this was something that was beneficial to everyone. Before we leave, I must make some announcements. And unfortunately, we have to make janazah prayer after this. We were informed that our brother Naeem Muhammad returned to Allah this morning. Also, the wife of Imam Kashif Abdul Kareem, Sister Kalia Abdul Kareem, also returned to Allah. Her janazah is today. And so we'll make janazah prayer after this, inshallah, for our believers, for our brothers and our sisters. And this is something that is going to be the reality for all of us. This is a reality for all of us. And this is the reason why we make the janazah prayer. Why, if you can make it to the burial, you should, because it's a reminder. Our time goes just like that. I always said, I was 15, 20 years old just yesterday. Some of you, you were 40 just yesterday. Now you pushing 70. Some of you in your 80s, right? So know that this time is limited on earth. Our time here is very limited. This life is very limited. And what we do for the pleasure of Allah will meet us on the day of judgment. A lot of times people say your past is behind you. Those deeds are behind you. No, they are not behind you. They'll be waiting for you on the day of judgment. So make sure that we put something forward in front of us that we're happy to see on the day of judgment. That we do it with the right intention so that it's a benefit for us on the day of judgment. And inshallah ta'ala, Allah will give us the success in this life and the next. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. أقيموا الصلاة.